So while most of us are stuck at home during this pandemic, some of us might be thinking about home defense, and some of us might have a KSG, maybe one we purchased recently, maybe even very recently in response to this. And those of you who have might be wondering, well, how do I load this thing? This is a very complex shotgun to operate. It holds a lot of shells, but eventually it does run out, and you need to load. Sometimes you need to load fast. Now, this has a very complicated, let's just see that it's empty. This has a very complicated chamber. As you can see, there's a lot of obstructions or possible obstructions in there. There are a lot of things for a shell to get hung up on, even these little things in the bolt. If you push down, for example, here, I'm stuck on that. I can't get past it. I have to let go and push. I can get stuck here. I can get stuck here. I can get stuck on this thing. I can get stuck on a lot of things. So if you try to do this fast, if you try to rush things without training, if you don't put in a lot of time figuring out how to run this gun and giving yourself the muscle memory of how to do it properly, reloading this thing, you might as well just forget about it. Just run it dry, drop it, and pick up something else. But if you want to invest a little bit of time, I'm going to talk about some of the best practices that I've developed for how to do that. You probably heard people talk about gross motor functions and how you can't perform fine motor functions under stress. So you should only try to, learn gross motor functions, and that's a bunch of bull. You could do anything under stress. You could play the piano, you could perform surgery, as long as you have the muscle memory for it. So training gives you muscle memory, and then you could do pretty much anything, no matter how much stress you're on, within limits. The problem with the KSG is that there's so much that could go wrong in this chamber, so many places you can get hung up, that you can't possibly invest enough time to give yourself muscle memory to correct all of them. Now, there are probably ways to streamline this. If you, for example, develop a process that will allow you to load this really quickly and account for the most common types of hangups, and you can do that. But this video is going to be about the most basic way to load this gun for most people, especially those who are new. So let's start with the chamber. The first thing you need to know about the chamber is that you can't get to the chamber without getting past these lifters. And if you hold the slide back like I'm doing now, they will not go down. However, if you do not hold the slide, they can go down. So if you want to load the chamber, you shoot your last shot, push the slide back, flip it over, then grab a shell. These are dummy shells, obviously. Don't hold the slide here. Either hold it loosely, meaning just, rest your fingers against it and don't stop it from moving, or just don't hold it at all. Put the shell in here, push down, and then in. You don't have to push it all the way in. It won't fall out if you push it partially in, but you can also push it all the way in, and you get that rewarding little sound. Now, you're ready to go. Another thing you could do is just push it all the way in. Don't even worry about, drop it in rather. Don't worry about pushing it in, and work the bolt. If you get hung up, move back a little and forward, and it'll go. I prefer actually putting it in the chamber because it doesn't really take much more time, and it's in there. Okay, so now we have a round in the chamber. We're ready to load the rest of the gun. Again, you only want to do this in an actual situation. If you're at home, let's clear the chamber. You can top it off later. It's safer that way. So first, about the magazine selector switch, the side that it's on is the side that is selected. So right now it is on this side, selecting this tube. On this side, it selects this tube. As you can see, when you push it to the side, it opens up down there and closes off this tube. But for some people, that can be a little confusing because, as you can see, when it's on this side, it's pointing at that tube, and some people's brains work that way, and it can be difficult. So you just have to teach yourself that. If you want this tube, that's how you do it. If you want that tube, it's on that side. Okay, so I've selected this tube, and I'm going to load this tube first. Now, if you notice, there's a little ramp in here. So what we want to do is we want to hold the gun slightly tilted down and slightly to the right if we're loading my right, if we're loading this tube. So then we drop the shell in there gently, or place it in there. We don't want to just toss it in there because we don't want it to end up like this or in the wrong sides. It's a good idea to hang on to your shell, put it in, and keep your thumb on the back of the shell. The problem with that is if you try to put it in by hand, you're going to probably get stuck on the, something out here. So it's better to put it in by dropping it just as little as possible. Just as little as possible. Just put it in there and keep your thumb on it. Now, when you load, don't push down. If you push down, well, I didn't get snagged that time, but if you push down as you do it, you might get snagged. Okay, here, I'm snagged on something because I was pushing down right here. So if you do get snagged, let it go a little and then push it back. If you just drop it in, don't push down, 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 you won't get snagged. I think that's full. Yep. Okay, so now we want to switch tubes, and again, tilt the gun down, and now to the other side, okay? And we do want to do the same thing. Don't push down. Don't push down. And by push down, what I mean is, when you're loading, don't push down on the shell and forward. That's how it gets snagged. So, don't push down, don't push down. So now you have both tubes loaded. I don't know if that's topped off, it doesn't really matter. Now you're ready to use the gun. What I like to do is load an additional couple of rounds right here. I'll just put one in for now. So I'm gonna cycle the gun out. Switch magazine tubes. Okay, so now I've run dry. What do? Push this back here, grab it, take the shell, flip it over, push the shell in. Okay, so now that I have a round in the chamber, I'm ready to load my tubes. So flip it over, which tube is selected? This one. Tilt it this way, slightly to the side. I could always, of course, change which one selected, drop it in, push it in, drop it in, push it in, drop it in. I'm not gonna top it off. Flip it to this one, drop it in, push it in, drop it in, push it in, drop it in, push it in, drop it in, push it in. There, I'm not going to fill it up like I said. That's how you load a KSG. Hope this helps, and thank you for watching.